Is horse racing, the so-called sport of kings, really as glamorous as it seems? It's a multi-billion-dollar global spectacle with grand hats, champagne, and the thunder of hooves. But when we place our bets and cheer from the stands, are we unknowingly complicit in a much darker story? What is the real price being paid for our entertainment? The numbers are difficult to ignore, but they're even harder to truly pin down. In the United States alone, official records from 2023 show over 600 horses died on racetracks. That's not counting training deaths or those that happen off the books. So what are the true figures? Not just in America, but in the UK, Australia, Japan, and beyond. The data we do have is startling enough. The Equine Injury Database in the US reported a fatality rate of 1.6 horses for every 1,000 starts back in 2019. But is this figure the whole truth? Organizations like Animal Aid in the UK and Horse Racing Wrongs in the US meticulously track these deaths, often revealing numbers that seem to paint a grimmer picture than the official industry narrative. These aren't just statistics. They are young, powerful animals. Most of the horses breaking down are just 2 or 3 years old, their bodies still growing and not fully equipped to handle the immense strain of high-speed racing. Are we pushing them too hard, too soon? All for the sake of a race. This isn't just about fatal breakdowns on the track, which are the most visible tragedies. What about the non-fatal injuries? The stress fractures, the torn ligaments, the bleeding lungs. How many horses are living with chronic pain kept going only by a cocktail of medications? We see the winner's circle and the victory parades, but we rarely get a glimpse into the stables the morning after a race. Are these athletic champions? Or are they disposable assets in a high-stakes financial game? The industry presents an image of deep love and care for the animals, but do the injury and fatality statistics support that claim on a global scale? When a horse goes down, the screens go up and the broadcast quickly cuts away. The public is shielded from the grim reality, but why? If this is a sport, and injuries are an unfortunate but accepted part of it, why the secrecy? This lack of transparency raises a fundamental question of trust. Can we trust an industry that seems so keen to hide its casualties? Are racing authorities in different countries genuinely trying to collect accurate data? Or is there an unspoken incentive to keep the numbers low and the public in the dark? Before we can even begin to talk about solutions, we have to ask if we're even being told the full scope of the problem. In the face of public outcry after a string of high-profile deaths, like those surrounding the 2023 Kentucky Derby, the racing world often announces reforms. We hear about new rules on whip use, safer track surfaces, and enhanced veterinary checks. But are these changes truly designed to protect the horses, or are they carefully crafted public relations moves? Take the whip, for instance. Many jurisdictions have introduced so-called padded or energy-absorbing whips and placed limits on how many times a jockey can strike a horse. But does this really make a difference to an exhausted animal being pushed beyond its limits in the final stretch of a race? Scientific evidence tells us that a horse's skin is thinner and packed with more nerve endings than ours. They are incredibly sensitive animals. So, when a jockey uses a whip, even a modified one, is it simply for encouragement, or is it inflicting pain to demand more speed? The debate rages on, but many welfare advocates argue that any rule that still allows for whipping is a compromise that puts entertainment and betting revenue ahead of animal welfare. Are these incremental changes just enough to quiet the critics, without fundamentally altering the way horses are treated? Are we, the public, being sold a story of progress that doesn't hold up under scrutiny? The issue goes far beyond the whip. It's about the very structure of the sport. The pressure to race 2-year-old horses whose skeletal systems are not yet mature is a prime example. The big money futurity races are built around these youngsters. While some reforms aim to increase veterinary oversight, do they challenge this fundamental practice? Can a vet truly safeguard a horse when the entire economic model incentivizes trainers and owners to push for early performance? It creates a system where the animal's long-term health is pitted against the promise of a short-term payday. Are these reforms just patching up a broken system? Ultimately, we have to ask who these rules are really for. Are they for the horses, or are they for us? Are they designed to make us feel better about watching? Different countries have different standards, creating a confusing patchwork of regulations. A practice that is banned in one major racing nation might be perfectly acceptable in another. This lack of a unified, global standard for welfare makes it difficult to assess the industry's commitment. If racing authorities were genuinely serious about protecting horses, wouldn't they be pushing for the highest possible standards to be adopted everywhere without exception? Or is it easier to keep the rules flexible and the public guessing? If a horse is sore or has a minor injury, what's the right thing to do? The answer should be simple: rest and recovery. But in the high-stakes world of international horse racing, time is money. This is where the conversation turns to drugs, both legal and illegal. It's a murky world filled with whispers of performance enhancers, pain maskers, and anti-bleeding medications that allow injured or unfit horses to be pushed onto the track. Is the use of medication to keep a horse racing not a form of systemic hidden abuse? How deep does this problem actually run? From the prestigious tracks in Europe to the bustling racecourses of Asia, the scandals are undeniable and international in scope. In the United States, a massive federal investigation that concluded in 2024 resulted in the conviction of nearly 30 individuals, including trainers and veterinarians, for their roles in sophisticated horse doping schemes. This wasn't a case of a few bad apples. It exposed a network dedicated to creating and distributing untestable drugs designed to cheat the system and endanger horses. But this is just what has been uncovered. Does this point to a much wider global culture where doping is simply part of the game, a risk worth taking for the millions of dollars in prize money? It's not just about the illegal drugs designed to cheat. What about the legal therapeutic medications? Horses are routinely given anti-inflammatory drugs like bute to manage pain and keep them running. But when does therapy cross the line into a crutch? By masking pain, are these drugs allowing trainers to run horses with underlying injuries that are then exacerbated, leading to catastrophic breakdowns? It raises a profound ethical question. Is it right to medicate an animal so that it can perform an act that could cause it further harm? Are the veterinary rules in different countries strong enough to prevent this? Or do they contain loopholes that are easily exploited? This leads to a chilling thought. Can we, as spectators, ever be sure that we are watching a clean race? Can we trust that the incredible burst of speed we see in the final furlong is the result of natural talent and training, and not the effect of a substance injected in secret? The challenge of out-of-competition testing, the development of new designer drugs, and the varying levels of enforcement across the globe make this a formidable problem. Is the international racing community doing everything in its power to root out doping? Or are the testing protocols always one step behind the cheats, leaving the horses to pay the ultimate price? Horse racing is not just a sport. It's a colossal multi-billion-dollar global industry. It encompasses wealthy owners, powerful breeding operations, betting corporations, and a vast workforce. With so much money at stake, can we truly expect the industry to regulate itself effectively? When a scandal breaks or welfare issues are raised, the industry's response is often swift and well-funded, deploying sophisticated public relations campaigns to protect its image and revenue streams. Does this immense economic power create a conflict of interest that makes meaningful reform almost impossible to achieve? Is the industry more invested in managing public perception than in solving its core problems? Consider the disparity in public image. An equestrian sport like the Big Lick Tennessee walking horse shows is widely and rightly condemned for its abusive practices, specifically the sawing of horses' legs. Yet, while horrific, this abuse reportedly doesn't kill as many horses as mainstream racing does. Why then does horse racing often receive less public condemnation? Could it be that its financial influence, its association with royalty and celebrity, and its massive marketing budget allow it to frame the narrative and deflect criticism more effectively than smaller, less powerful equestrian disciplines? This influence can be felt at every level, from media coverage to political lobbying. When new laws are proposed to enhance animal welfare, who are the most powerful voices in the room? Are they the independent vets and animal advocates? Or are they the industry lobbyists representing financial interests? This creates an imbalance where the voice of the horse can be drowned out by the sound of money. Can a body like the International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities truly enforce unbiased, tough regulations when its members are the very national racing bodies it is supposed to oversee? The question of transparency is central here. Does the industry's power allow it to control the flow of information? We know about the deaths that happen in the public eye on race day. But what about the ones that occur during training? Or the horses that are quietly euthanized in their stalls due to career-ending injuries? Without mandatory, independently verified and publicly accessible records in every racing nation, We are relying on the industry to police itself. Is it fair to ask an industry to report information that could damage its own brand and bottom line? Or does true accountability require a level of outside oversight that the sport has so far resisted? What happens when a racehorse can no longer race? A thoroughbred's racing career is incredibly short, often lasting just 2 or 3 years. Thousands of horses leave the industry every year. What is their fate? The industry loves to showcase heartwarming stories of retired champions becoming successful in other disciplines or living out their days in green pastures. But how common is this fairy tale ending? For every celebrated champion, how many thousands of less successful, less valuable horses simply disappear from view? Is there a robust international system in place to ensure these animals have a secure future? The reality for many is far from idyllic. When a horse stops earning prize money, it becomes a significant financial liability. The cost of feed, stabling, and veterinary care is substantial. For many owners, the most economically viable option is to sell the horse on, with little control over where it ends up. Many ex-racehorses find their way to auctions, and from there, a significant number are purchased for slaughter. Is it acceptable for an industry that profits so immensely from these animals during their youth to discard them when they are no longer profitable? Does the responsibility of an owner end when the horse crosses the finish line for the last time? While many dedicated aftercare charities and rehoming organizations exist worldwide, they are often overwhelmed and underfunded, relying on donations to do their vital work. Is it fair for the industry to outsource this fundamental responsibility to the charitable sector? Some racing authorities have started to implement small levies on prize money or sale prices to fund aftercare initiatives. But are these measures enough to handle the sheer volume of horses exiting the sport each year? Or are they just a drop in the ocean, a token gesture that allows the industry to claim it is addressing the problem without making the significant investment required? For trust to be built, there needs to be a clear, transparent, and global commitment to lifetime care. This means a system of traceability, where every horse is tracked from birth to death. It means holding breeders and owners accountable for planning a horse's retirement before it even starts its career. How can the public get reliable information on what happens to horses after they race in a given country? Without international standards and transparent reporting on aftercare outcomes, the public is left to wonder. Is the sport of kings truly honoring its most important athletes, or is it turning a blind eye once their utility is gone?